This is the Escape Podcast for Star Wars The Old Republic. This week, we're going to talk about Star Wars Celebration just a little bit, because I think we're going to talk about more of it next week. Maybe this will be a two-part podcast. More specifically within Star Wars Celebration, though, we're certainly going to break down the Cantina event and the Onslaught expansion announcement, because that is the hot news. We'll give you our hot takes on Onslaught, and we'll talk a little bit about the AI meetup that happened. This broadcast astromech, who is with us this evening, is EPC 288. And playing alongside me is Seema. Hi, Seema. How's it going?
Hey, Max. It's going great. We are recording on a Tuesday night, which means we just finished with MFN, and you weren't there because you had to work, so this will be all news to you.
I wasn't
But
there. I'll have to write that down. I don't have a note there.
But we did a pet-related MFN. Yay! We went to Hoth, and we got the Tonlet, which is a little questy type thing that you do, but thanks to B. Kavanaugh, we had the mats for everyone already, which is ice grappler jerky and a specific grappler thing that's named by many letters. And you go to a spot on Hoth, and you use the ice grappler jerky, which might mean that you eat it. I don't know. I hope not.
I think you do.
But it gives you a buff, which attracts a Tonlet, and then you shoot it with the grappler, and then you have a new pet. And I knew we were getting a pet, but I was unprepared for how much I enjoyed everyone running around with their tiny little Tonlet pets out. That was awesome. And then we also went around on Hoth to all the nests where you click on the little tauntauns in the nest, and you attract a big tauntaun who gets then attacked by a wampa, and you kill the wampa, and then you get an item from that, which is a domestic, I forget what it's called, but when you get 15 of those, you can turn them in for a tauntaun mount.
Sure.
Yes, I'm sure. So we were working on that. We got in about an hour, we got maybe halfway. Like I got 9 or 10 of them, and some people got 11 or 12, and some people got 8 or 9. So we got about halfway through that process, which we will either continue on another MFN, or people are, now that everyone knows how to do it, people are welcome to go back and do that on their own to finish it off. We also ran into Gargath a couple of times as we were going from nest to nest, so he died a couple of times.
Ran into him
outside
with your
of MFN. No.
It's like I ran into him with my fist. Ran into Gargath.
Yes. I ran into him with my lightsaber that I don't even ever equip because I'm a mercenary. But anyway.
Well, there's that.
I did do my OSIS chores already for the week on my commando. So I've already done, well, no, not, I didn't do 10 daily quests. I did 7. And then I also did the world bosses. So I'm like done with world bosses on my commando for the week already, which I feel really like patting myself on the back for that. And it went very smoothly, which I figured it would, because Tuesday afternoon has got to be one of the best times to do that.
Yeah.
Much better than like Monday, which is when I normally do it.
Right. Yeah, Monday morning, or Tuesday morning.
yeah, Monday at 8 a.m. or something. I still have to do it on my Merc though. But I may or may not get around to it because the later it gets in the week, the less likely I am to actually do it, because I'm kind of tired of those world bosses. I'm tired of sort of the whole group building part, and then anyway.
Tired of people, tired of existence. You know how you get late in the week.
Yes.
As we all
yes,
do.
That's right. You get the late in the week.
Existence is
doldrums.
pain. Yeah.
But it's still early in the week, so it's good. So we're going to talk about how your week went, because you were at Star Wars Celebration.
We sure as heck are. Heckin' sure are. My week was mostly filled with Star Wars Celebration. I did play a little bit. I only did all the OSA stuff on one character, but I didn't get a Relic of Primeval Fate Sealer. What I actually did is I picked the upper box because I needed an earpiece still, and I got it. I can't believe RNG worked out. It's a 1 in
Oh,
4 chance,
nice.
but I got the earpiece, or an earpiece. It's probably better than a 1 in 4 chance to get the earpiece because there's probably multiple earpieces, whereas the head slot and the main hand offhand are a single piece. Anyway, I did get one more piece there, which I immediately upgraded to 258 because the left side I need to use those crystals anyway to upgrade my left side. Would you like me to read the stats on all of my gear? I will not
I
do that.
would love for you to do that.
No, I will not do that. But what else I did? The other things that I did, of course, was Star Wars Celebration and the Cantina event and all of that, which is going to be the main thing that we're going to talk about tonight. So why don't we just jump? Why don't we jump straight towards that?
Yes.
Not right into it, but towards that direction.
Now, an Imperial News Network report.
So main news, which we're just going to sort of skip over, of course, is Star Wars Celebration and Onslaught. So we are going to break those down as sort of the bulk of the show this week. As I mentioned in the opening, we're going to do a two-part on Star Wars Celebration itself. I'll give you the high-level overview, and then next week we'll break it down further and talk more about the trailer, specifically Episode 9. We'll talk about Mandalorian, and I'll show off some of my pictures of the more obscure parts of Star Wars Celebration. This week, though, we're going to focus on Onslaught, the Onslaught announcement, the Star Wars Cantina and BioWare, and the kind of things that AIE and the SWTOR fan community and all the cool people that we met up with out there were doing. We do have a little bit of guild news, though. Guild news, well, the first thing up in guild news, of course, was we did have an AIE meetup. We had an AI meetup at Star Wars Celebration. I'll show you some pictures of that in just a second, so we can skip over that one, too. What else did we have?
And SWTORista, after all her work on the fan booth, the SWTOR community fan booth at Star Wars Celebration, she is already thinking about Star Wars Celebration in 2020. So
I am a
I
little
think
bit
that's a great
too.
thing.
We'll talk about that a bit as well. I'm kind of thinking about it a little bit. It's an Anaheim, confirmed Anaheim hype, which will include at least close proximity to an instance of Galaxy's Edge, which is the new Star Wars exhibit park theme area experience in Disney, both in world and in land. That could be really cool. So,
yeah.
also in just broad community news, definitely check out all of the streams that are going on, all of the podcasts going on, all the videos on demand, and the YouTube videos. Kogas was streaming a ton this weekend from Star Wars Celebration. Kid Lee was not at Star Wars Celebration, but was streaming from his side. So Teresa was streaming from her side with a bunch of the streamers, and then a bunch of the influencers and content creators. We aren't influencers anymore, are we? We're content creators or something like that. I forgot what we are, or something. A bunch of the content creators have started to produce their recaps and announcement details around Onslaught. So Onslaught, Zamzam's got a nice post. I think Volk did a thing. And then I heard that Kogas, who was in the chat room here just a minute ago, is going to be doing a cool thing, I believe, on Friday, and continuing the hype and hearing directly from, I believe, Eric and Charles on a little bit of an interview thing that'll be going on Friday. So that is a ton of really good community stuff going on right now. Definitely check it all out. A lot to consume there and get your fill of and see all the angles and perspectives on Star Wars Celebration. I think that's a fun part of it.
And this Friday is going to be Mega, so that's Friday, April 19th. We are going to do something on OSIS. Marcus is calling it OSIS Takeover. So that should be interesting. So 9 p.m. Eastern, April 19th.
Awesome. OSIS Takeover. So so there's your opportunity to get some world boss kills in potentially. You could wait till Friday.
Oh, yeah.
There's
that.
that.
It's so smart to do it on my pub side first because, Marcus, I'm sure Well, yeah, we'll probably do it on Ipside.
There you go.
Good
Hey,
point.
hey, everyone who's thinking about it, opportunity to potentially get some World Boss kills
Yeah.
in at our SWTOR Mega event on April 19th. And that's, again, those mega events especially, but everything we do really in AI is really open to anybody. Anybody who's on StarForge.
Yeah.
Our Tuesday night things, 8 to 10 Central, our mega events, which we tend to be able to even do bigger than our Tuesday night stuff. Our monthly this month's monthly event is this Friday, April 19th, 8 p.m. Central, Starforge server. We're gonna take over OSIS, so come join, get some World Boss kills in, and see what else we might do as a part of that. And certainly a shout out to the chat room. A lot of great people joining the chat room. Really appreciate you guys helping out. And as usual, there'll be a giveaway going on there in the chat room. So check in on that. There's going to be a little bit bigger of a giveaway next week. I think SWTORista managed to wrangle for all of the people that were part of Star Wars Celebration a sub code, so we're going to give that one away next week as part of the part 2 of the Star Wars Celebration recap. This week it'll be a cartel coin code. So be in the chat room, type that word. You don't need to be present to win. And I will catch up with all of you after the show. But hey, let's talk about I know we hit it last week, but it's even more so this week with our big Onslaught announcement. It's a game changer.
Game changer.
Game changer for
The industry.
So Onslaught's the big game changer, but let's also talk specifically a little bit and do the introduction of Star Wars Celebration. So Star Wars Celebration is the main thing that obviously happened, and it was long. I didn't realize it was. Where's my badge? I've had the badges sitting on my desk in front of me during every time we've done the podcast for at least the last 6 weeks or whatever. So I looked down. I was expecting to be able to pick them up and wave them around or fiddle with them as I've been fidgeting with them for the past few weeks, and now my badge isn't here. So yeah, a lot of really good fun stuff. It was more. I got the full 5-day pass. I don't think I need it. I think I only went 3 days, so I didn't use all 5 of my days. Had the fam popping in and out. Had them coming and hanging out downtown. My daughter came up from St. Louis, so we were able to get her in. My son, who lives downtown, was able to come over. He was hanging out a couple nights, and my youngest, who's out here in the suburbs, came down also. Obviously, a lot of really fun stuff. So I wanted to show you a couple things, Seema. One was This is a big banner. I used the panorama mode on my iPhone to take the picture of all of it since it was so huge. This was the big.
Yeah, that's a great picture. You can see the whole. Yeah.
I'm sure there's other high-res versions of this, maybe even some digital version of it that was created. It's sort of the full spectrum of everything from all of the episodes, and this part at the very end was covered up as the show started until the episode 9 panel went on, which was Friday morning. I think it was Friday morning, or maybe it was Saturday. Maybe I think it was Friday morning, but it was covered up when things started. So you. Because it's kind of a tiny bit spoilery, just a tiny bit here. So we are going to talk about the trailer. We are going to talk about everything that happened in Star Wars Celebration. I guess there's kind of tiny bits of spoileriness, so be prepared for that as part of the discussion. But nothing more than just the trailer, which I would expect everyone has seen. So this starts way back here on episode 1. You can sort of see the whole spectrum. Episodes 1, 2, and 3. A New Hope, 4, even Rebels or Rogue One is in here. Everything sort of pushes on through. Episode 7, 8, and then back here, this last little part here was episode 9. And I think the big deal with episode 9, why it had to be covered up until the very end, was Kylo Ren's got his helmet back on here. Which is I think that's the sort of the significant part, because nothing else here is very interesting. So that happened. Here's a little bit of zoomed in part on that last panel. Oh, and this little droid is new. He shows up in the trailer, and he was sort of a big deal. They brought him out on stage also. Well, I wouldn't say big deal. He's kind of a small deal. But they did some special engineering. He's going to be a new character. He's like a pet to BB-8, which is a pet to Poe Dameron. So it's like a meta pet of some kind. But anyway, Star Wars Celebration was pretty cool. So I had never been before. I had to figure out really what it was. It's a combination of big panels, small panels, and then the showroom floor. The showroom floor is mostly some fan booths, a lot of vendor booths. I'd say it's probably 80% vendor booths. Then there's the show floor stage, which is where they do a little bit of announcements and some things out there, and some they do some interviews out there with some of the stars and get out amongst the fans. Then there's a couple exhibits, like the Star Wars Galaxy exhibit. I think I might even have some pictures of that will show off as part of this. And then a whole area around the side here where there's the autograph hall. It was just an area wrapped around the side that was sort of fenced off, where a lot of the stars were at. All the big names that you'd expect that are sort of the current Star Wars crew were there signing autographs. And then a bunch of more less big, but still really cool people to hear about and see, like the voice actors from the Clone Wars animated series, and the kid who played young Boba Fett in the first couple episode movies, who's not a kid anymore. So my son's like, "Hey, that's little Boba Fett," and I looked over and I'm like, "That doesn't look like little Boba Fett. that's a grown man with a beard." But yeah, that's him. And then here's a picture of the rest of everything, which is the fun part of what's going on. This was Slave Leia Deadpool. Again, why?
Yes.
I don't know, but there was a ton of that all over the place. So a lot of cosplay.
Yeah, there was.
Here's a little more.
But specifically, a lot of cosplay with people mixing two or more characters, right?
Right. Yeah. Not a ton of that, but yes, a good bit of that, and a good bit of spoof things that were going on. A lot of that stuff was pretty fun. This is, of course, the Emperor, who is significant, yes. who's back on the menu for a number of reasons. When we start thinking about what happened in the trailer event, but he's obviously one of my favorite characters because he says things like "Do it." They brought him out on stage. I don't know if you saw the replay of the Episode 9 panel with J.J. Abrams and everybody talking about Episode 9 and all of the stars of Episode 9. Then they played the trailer for Episode 9, and of course, the final bit of the trailer, the final 2 seconds of the trailer, is the Emperor laughing. Then yes. Ian came out on stage and did nothing else but stand there after, so then the lights come up. He comes out on stage, and there's standing ovation. It took him a while. He was trying to not crack up while he did it, but all he did was, in the Emperor voice, he said, "Roll it again." And then they dimmed the lights and they rolled the trailer one more time, which was awesome. And that was it. That's all he did. But then he was here signing autographs and stuff. And I think he was on a panel, and you could take pictures with him and Hayden Christensen, which was awesome. So there's a lot of that kind of thing going on too. But yeah, this was that show floor stage that I mentioned. It's sort of, that's what's jutting out here. That's where somebody's up on here. This is where Charles Boyd was interviewed on Sunday at 1 p.m. out on the main stage talking about Star Wars The Old Republic, which was cool. It was featured a number of ways across this event, which I thought was kind of interesting and kind of fun to have happen. It was featured in some of the lead-ups. It was featured in some of the panels. It was featured on the main stage. They talked about the Cantina event, and then our Cantina event was one of the best attended events. And so I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is. I don't have perspective on it though, but it seems to me like in previous Star Wars celebrations, there hasn't been this level of mention
No,
for SWTOR.
I don't think there has. And I don't know if there, I don't, maybe if going back at the launch, there was,
Oh
I don't,
yeah,
I wasn't really paying much
maybe
attention,
that. Yeah,
but
maybe so.
last couple of years, there definitely did not seem to be. So that was really good to see it get as much airtime as it did from this year. And then yeah, as the it was all from SWTORista pushing it, and the SWTOR fan community, and pushing that and making it so public. That could have very well been a big part of it, pushing it with the planning committee and the news and announcements, and getting the word out there that there are fans interested in this, and hey, you should at least list it in your program, type of thing. I think that could
Yeah,
very
wouldn't
well
be
have
surprised,
been part of it.
Kogas.
And with that in mind, there were a couple Old Republic booths. This was one side, which is leading up to our big SWTOR fan community on the other side. But this is what I mentioned in the pre-show, Seema. This is sort of the backside of the SWTOR fan community booth. This was the cosplayers of the Old Republic. And I've got some more pictures of them in a second. But really high quality cosplay helmets, some props that were shown off, and then those cosplayers were around quite a bit, which were pretty cool.
Yeah, is that a Scorpio mask?
Yes, that is. It was unpainted, but yeah, it was
Ooh.
really
Yeah.
I mean, it's really cool and relatively detailed. Some nice Old Republic armor. This is the Old Republic cosplayers, like a couple Satil Shans, a couple of the Old Republic area Sith Lords, troopers, a lot of that kind of good stuff going on. And then this side, this was the SWTOR fan community. So this was the brainchild of SWTORista. This was a lot of great people helping man the booth. Ted, one of our podcasters, a lot of the streamers, Kogas and Kidley from the outside, and this, I should say this. Oh wait, I got another picture here. This is Fiona, who helped with some of the setup, and her husband. A bunch of people came together, and I'm not even doing justice to all of this, sort of the staff and helpers and everybody who helped put this thing together. It had an impact. It was a big deal. It was a big deal on the show floor. It was a big deal with people coming by and learning about Star Wars: The Old Republic. It was a big deal with the swag that they were able to sort of give away and the drawing. This we talked about in past weeks. I should even get some more pictures of it. This was Zen's custom-made Satil Shan lightsaber, which is basically the best Star Wars: The Old Republic prop in the whole place. Amazing. In fact, I'm surprised those Satil Shan cosplayers weren't begging Zen to be able to use it for some of their photo ops.
Right. Yeah.
But the booth was manned all 5 days. The booth had people coming by all 5 days, all day and all night. It was a big deal. So that was really well done. SWTORista was the brains behind the operation. She did the design of all these materials. She did the design of the buttons. She did the design of the giveaways. She was just, all over.
She made it happen.
Yeah. And then in addition to that, she was doing the fan community stream schedule, which we showed the schedule of that last week, where she was driving the schedule where there would be someone on site and there would be someone remote, and they would manage a stream as part of that, which I thought was really cool too. Also going on, moving along before we get to our Onslaught discussion, there was an AIE meetup. So we had some space set aside. Here's SWTORista. We had here's Kogas, Ted, and R2D2 Arm, and DP Roberts, and Melong and his wife Karen, I believe. Corley, Major from AIE. This is my son Nick. This is Ted, one of the podcasters. We watched the trailer about 10 times. And then we watched some of episode 8. We watched replay of the panels, especially the episode 9 panel. Darren DePaul was not there.
It looks like it though. He's right.
Yeah, it kind of does look like Darren DePaul. and we had some Chicago beers and some Chicago deep dish pizza, and yeah, that was pretty fun. Thanks for everybody for stopping by and hanging out and watching the. Is that Kylo Ren laying down there? On the I don't know what's going on the monitor there, but we had Star Wars stuff playing all night. We were there till like 1:30 in the morning, 1:30 or 2 o'clock. It made a slow morning for me the next morning. I'll say that.
I bet. Yeah.
So I did not get up and rush down and try to get standing room only for the panel, whatever panel was going on that morning, because I didn't get into any of the big panels anyway. My RNG did not work.
I know. You and RNG just don't get along.
Or yeah, I feel like if there was like an achievement for the worst RNG, my RNG is bad enough that I would like win one roll and not get that. I always thought about that as in various games, if I could have the worst RNG and like get a record in that direction, but no, I don't think it would work that way. So that was the AIE meetup, and then there was the SWTOR Cantina. So this is the main thing I wanted to talk about and get into.
Yes.
This is the line that I was standing in. So my problem with the cantina, this was the line. It
looks like a mob.
40 minute. This was the line a half hour after the cantina already started. There was 200 people in line still to get in. They had a sort of a tough process to get in. They needed everybody to sign in, to register and sign in before they would let you in. And they needed you to be screened by security for both your age and get you sort of metal detector.
Yeah.
And so it was a long, long process. And they only had 2 laptops to be signing everybody in. So it was hours of the sign-in and line that was just going on, because the line people started lining up at 6 p.m. for the 7 p.m. and I didn't get in until 8 p.m. or a little after 8 p.m. So it was literally 2 hours of line, and it was going and going and going. But you know, whatever. I got there at 6 p.m. I saw the line, but my problem was my youngest daughter was 17 and a half, and with the high security and the security service checking the ages, I knew she wasn't going to get in. I wasn't going to fight it. So we went to Shake Shack and we got a really awesome burger. And so me and the fam had fun there. And then the kids went back to the hotel and watched movies, and I came to the event for a bit. I did finally get in at the time that they were walking through the Dantooine announcement and just before the Onslaught announcement. So I really made it just in time. I was happy with what I was able to do. And we were in this really big ballroom. This is a couple shots of the ballroom. And it was plenty big for everybody that wanted to get in there. You couldn't necessarily get up close, but open bars, a couple bars spread around the room. You can see here drink tickets for you to get at least one free drink, if not a couple free drinks. And then the BioWare staff was bouncing around the room, giving out more free drink tickets. A lot of people in costume. I didn't mention that. I didn't mention that at the start. Across Star Wars Celebration, there were more people in costume, a higher percentage of people in costume than I expected. And I felt a little left out because I was not in a costume.
Because you didn't do it, yeah.
And it made me think hard about if I would ever do a costume. And one of the things I wanted to be careful about and watch close on was, what does the old guys with the old mans look like when they wear costumes at Star Wars Celebration? And they were fine. They were fine. I could pull it off. I could be okay. There was plenty of people that looked like, like gray-haired execs from, whatever company, it's like just like lawyer kind of dudes dressed up as like Imperial officers. And there was like these 3 old guys dressed up as the snow troopers, Imperial troopers from Hoth. There was, thank you, chat room. I could apparently pull off a nice Yoda. My youngest, my middle daughter, my college daughter, was trying to convince me to just do Yoda. No, I don't think I could do Yoda. But I'm thinking about it. In fact, I spent time and some downtime yesterday watching prop building videos. So Punish Props is actually an AIE member. from way back. I don't think he plays too much anymore. What's his name? Punish Props. Bill Duran. Bill Duran. I just randomly searching on YouTube for, how to build a prop gun, how to build a prop, lightsaber. I don't think I did lightsaber because I'm mostly focused on blasters because I think I might do like a Nico Okar costume if I was going to do one. Anyway, Bill Duran is the guy, apparently. His videos are like the top search result when you're looking for prop building. So I looked it up. I'm thinking about it. I felt a little left out. There were a lot of really good costumes. I think I could pull it off. And I think I messaged you about it, Seema. Some of the costumes look much better in person. Some of the costumes look much better in photos, but everybody's costumes came off pretty well. And it was, you were part of the in crowd. Nobody looked weird wearing a costume, no matter what it was, no matter if it was just your bathrobe and a lightsaber. So, I think it was fine.
My favorite costume that I saw was on an 11-year-old girl. She got interviewed, on the floor, and she said that her brother had gotten her into Star Wars when she was 3, and she'd been essentially making her own Star Wars costume ever since. And
Wow.
she tailored it to herself and her idea of Star Wars, and she started with, like, when she made her helmet, she couldn't make like a Darth Vader style helmet because she wears glasses and they wouldn't fit. And she didn't want to lose her girliness, so her costume also included a pink tutu.
That's awesome.
But it was really awesome and she had been coming to Star Wars Celebration every year. And so the guy who was interviewing her said, "So you basically grew up here?" And she's like, "Yeah."
Yeah. I mean, that's probably all from her earliest memories. There's some sort of Star Wars Celebration that's part of it. That's pretty amazing. And a lot of costumes sort of were that. It was these mix of people's personalities coming out as part of it. In fact, there was I know this isn't the Star Wars Celebration. We'll get into Onslaught in just a second, but there was like the 3 stormtroopers who had the stormtrooper helmet, and then they had matching Hawaiian shirts and shorts and flip-flops. And that's what they did. And they just walked around and they did the thumbs up and they did the hang loose, and they did photo ops of the Hawaiian tropical stormtroopers. Then there was the Freddie Mercury
the opposite
stormtrooper.
Of the snowtroopers.
There was that iconic shot of Freddie Mercury in that white in the white outfit on stage, one of his final acts. Well, it was Stormtrooper from the waist down, and no, I think it was Stormtrooper chest plate, and then the Freddie Mercury yellow jacket, and the that long mic that he had, and then the guy Freddie Mercury mustache, and his head looked like Freddie Mercury, and he would do the Freddie Mercury poses. So he was the Freddie Mercury Stormtrooper.
Crazy.
So there's a bunch of that kind of stuff, and it was really amusing. It was really good. So Zen was an awesome Jedi costume, and as I was mentioning, the best lightsabers in the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's this guy who had a really good lightsaber costume, and this guy on the left, who I got to talk to only for a couple minutes, unfortunately, who is Keith. So I did get to say hi to Keith and talk to him. And then
so Keith was in costume.
No, he's just wearing a sweatshirt. This is Keith on
the
left. This is
I thought it was 2 Jedi talking to each other.
No, he's just wearing a sweatshirt. None of the BioWare people were in costume. No, I take that back. I think this is actually a BioWare dev. But I thought when they mostly lined up, they were mostly all wearing the Onslaught shirt for specific reasons, because it had like the Onslaught announcement as part of the back, and they wanted to all be matching and be visible on the floor and that kind of thing. So they were all wearing the T-shirt.
Yeah, Charles was. I'm pretty sure that Max was going to say except for Charles.
Except for Charles. And for some reason, Charles is like the superstar. Everybody loves Charles. There was a line to line up and get your pictures with Charles all night.
Because it was his half ponytail.
That's what gives him the right kind of. That's what brings all the boys to the yard.
I don't know.
Charles was in one of his Jedi Knight costumes, sort of the Jedi Guardian with the armor and the robe, and it looked really good, of course. There was some guys like this that were there as well. So this is a little bit of an AIE picture that we did. Not everybody, because we missed Medulla, who was around, and a bunch of, like Kogas and everybody else was around too. But I tried to grab as many people as I could quick, because again, we didn't get that many pictures done. But here's Zen in his Jedi costume with one of his lightsabers. Oh, this is the Satil Shan lightsaber. He also has an Obi-Wan Oh, that's Corley's holding the Obi-Wan lightsaber right there. This is Major Debacle. This is DP Roberts. This is Melung. This is Corley. And that's, I don't know who that is. And then I met, this is SWTOR Sill, who said she might join our guild. She plays on Jedi Covenant, but she was the HK costume. I think I was using the Force and took this is actually a selfie. So that's why I put this picture in. This is actually me taking a selfie using the Force to take a selfie. I was levitating the camera there. So yeah, she was HK. She was pretty cool. I'm hoping she does join our stuff. I think I found her on Twitter. She said what her handle was. I'm going to try to track her down. And then yeah, here was some of the Old Republic cosplay crew. So this was the Satil Shan, and they had these poses that they would do and some cool stuff. She knew just how to get into that pose, and they had like two ensemble poses that they would keep doing throughout the event. That was pretty cool. But we'll talk more, as I said, more about Star Wars Celebration, show more of those pictures, more of the crazy cosplay, more of the stuff on the show floor. But I do want to specifically get into Onslaught, because Onslaught was announced and it was a big deal. And they I would say, what do you think, Seema? What's okay?
I definitely think yes. Play it.
They did it. I think they achieved what they needed to do to not to at least meet expectations and not do the wrong thing at Star Wars Celebration.
Right.
Would you say?
Yeah. No. I definitely think they did.
All right. So
I thought.
Yeah. Go. What did you think?
Yeah. I thought you were going to ask me if I thought it was a game changer.
Oh.
That's why I was saying go ahead and play it, because I think so. In a couple of ways.
I won't do the whole thing. Yeah. It's a game changer. I agree. It's a game changer. In a couple. Okay, let's walk through it, and we'll talk about the parts that are expected out of an expansion, and then the couple parts that are really game changers out of an expansion. And we don't have all of what we're going to need to learn just yet, but we do have a significant amount of what's up, and we can certainly talk about that. So let's do the overview. So they set the theme, they set the stage, the war reignites, and they laid it on the line. They said it's Malgus. Malgus is leading the invasion. He's taking you there. He's taking the war back to, I think we probably logged out by this point. I won't even bother to go back. He's taken the war back to Corellia. And they said they want it to be Republic versus Imperial. They want that to be the focus. That's the story. That's where it's going to go. It's war. War between the Republic and the Empire blazes across the galaxy. Crucial resources dwindle. Piracy and crime escalate. Blah, blah, blah. Which opens the door for some other weird things to happen, like Zerka to unleash some of their chaos into the mix.
By the way, by getting logged out, you missed Big Fat Streaker.
I did not see Big Fat Streaker at Star Wars Celebration.
Oh, bummer.
I was keeping an eye out for that. That would have been great. And in fact, I want to see that in the future. Star Wars Streaker. Next Star Wars Celebration, that cosplay better be at Star Wars Celebration at both the SWTOR fan community and the AIE meetup. Be there or be not streaking. So what do you think about this, the theme setting, Seema, the wars
Well,
of the Empire, blah, 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 back to Corellia, yada, yada, yada.
excuse me. For some reason, I'm really excited about the return to Corellia part.
Mm.
It's not that Corellia was my favorite planet or anything, but I just love the idea of cycling back to the original story in a way. And I like going to a place that's familiar but will have new stuff. I really like that idea. Along with, getting a new planet, or at least the moon of a planet. And it wouldn't work as the only thing, but I think I think it's a creative idea, and I really like that.
Yeah, I agree. We've got all these planets in the galaxy, and we should make use of them. They're made use of throughout the lore, and even in the Battle of Yavin era, they're part of the story. Let's keep it rolling. Let's
Right.
keep going
I
back
mean,
to
and
them.
we've
They
said
don't.
before, like,
Just
I
gonna
would love
visit
to
them
have
once.
for something to happen on Hoth.
Right. Hoth and Tatooine, and we
Yeah.
have had like little side events, and we do have the Rakghoul plague that strikes these planets, but I think it does make sense. Corellia is this hub, this capital, the shipyards on
Yeah.
Corellia. This is where that should certainly be part of a big war. So that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
As you mentioned, we are though getting another planet. So we are getting Onderon.
Yes, which is known to people who played KOTOR.
Right. I don't think it was a huge part of KOTOR, but it was a planet that you visited at KOTOR apparently. I played through KOTOR. I don't remember. I think I played through KOTOR 1 and 2, but I think I just played through them and didn't pay that much attention or something. I don't remember very much from either of those.
Sometimes I
I
read
should
books
go
that way too.
back.
Like I'm so excited to find out what happens next that I somehow miss a lot of the book as I'm reading through, just focused on what happened.
Yeah, so I think I just played through it and enjoyed playing and didn't really focus on the story all that much at the time. But there is a story behind the planet of Onderon. In fact, there's some stuff in Wikipedia you can look up about Onderon, and there was a queen in the KOTOR days that we were helping with, and she was in the middle of being betrayed, and there was some intrigue and sort of a sort of a rough and tumble native population that slowly got civilized, but some of them didn't stay civilized, and that kind of thing. So jungly plus these sort of walled cities, that's the theme of what Onderon looks like. And I think it's gonna be cool. So we're getting another planet. I also
mean,
like
I
getting new planets.
I love the art for Onderon too, because one of the things I've commented on before is that SWTOR is a brown game. I mean, it's shades of brown, bronze, and green wherever, dark green wherever you go. And I just like it when little splashes of color get introduced. Like there was some color on Makeb and there was some color on Manan. But this Onderon looks like it's, I love it. Blue sky with like a pink.
Yeah, these pastels and
yeah,
and these purple vegetation.
It's like a relief to my eyeballs. I like it.
It's an interesting palette. It's a palette
Yeah, it's like
cleanser.
I think Alderaan and Belsavis are beautiful landscapes too. I'm not saying that. It's just I just like this variation.
I do too. I think I like getting any new planet ever, but yeah, I like this idea of this theme and palette that they've presented so far. So I wouldn't have been all that excited about another dead planet that was destroyed by some Sith
right, it is. Yeah,
curse or whatever
curse.
Well, what do they do? His ritual. Sith
Yes,
rituals that
ritual.
wipe all, I almost said decimate. You know,
Yeah,
it destroyed 10% of the planet, but the rest of the planet's not too bad off. So
the rest of the planet was fine.
And then I'm also excited about this. This is what
That was
should be in a sci-fi game. This is the sort of that flex and the stretch into something that sounds really cool. So this is Mech Shah that they announced. So Mech Shah is like a broken, hollowed out asteroid and a ship building yard that was built into the inside of this asteroid. And that's a place. Just like I love Iocath because it's a Dyson sphere and you get to sort of play with that sci-fi concept. Same thing here. I play this game partially because it's a sci-fi game. I love MMOs, but this is a sci-fi MMO. There's a bunch of fantasy MMOs. I get a sci-fi MMO. I want some sci-fi. I want some meaty, some meaty sci in my fi. So I'm really looking
I
forward
liked
to Mech
this
Shah.
because they show the art for Andron and the art for this place, side by side, and it's like the upper and the lower, or the inner and the outer. It's sort of like the blue sky and birds and butterflies, but then there's also this underside, scum and villainy type place.
Yeah, right. And I hope it's gritty, and I hope it's mechanical, and I hope it's everything that we want out of that hard sci grit, mech yard type of thing. And pirates. There should be some pirates there too. Opportunity and danger can be found in equal measure.
That sounds like pirates to me.
Yes. And then,
and mercenaries,
as they said, return to Corellia. However, we're sort of debating this. It sounds like the return to Corellia may just be in Flashpoint form. And I'm a little less excited about the return to Corellia being only in Flashpoint form.
I want to go there.
I want things to be happening on the planet.
There, yeah.
In fact, here, if you look at it, I would really like, to be able to hit M and have like another sort of zone added to the planet that becomes then part of the story, or a couple. I think that would be really cool. I mean, Corellia is an ecumenopolis, so these 5 little zones is
just part of it.
Yeah, it would just be a tiny part of it, because we've got this whole planet covered in city that we could explore. They did make a point when they were showing this off in the announcement that this is a screenshot of one of the new Planet Approach cinematics that has been added to the game, and they're doing more and more of those. I guess they're refreshing the Approach cinematics. When you get into your ship and you fly to the planet, you get that little bit of a cutscene of approaching the planet. They're refreshing those, I guess, which is kind of cool.
But I never fly to a planet because I don't want to mess with the orbital station.
I know. We just hit we just do our control M, and did I do it? Not control.
Yeah.
Shift M, and just go right to it. But now there'll be a reason to go back and check out.
I'm lazy. They have to get rid of the orbitals.
Our ships, but maybe you can watch them on YouTube or something.
You can stream them for me, Max.
One thing, if we're talking about speculation and what we do and we don't want, is I do not want in this flashpoint to fight and defeat Malgus in this flashpoint. I do not want to kill Malgus in a flashpoint again. That will bother me. I get if that's how they need to do it, because it's not part of the operation. Malgus, that doesn't sound like the operation is part of the story. So I'm fearful that that we're going to be fighting Malgus in this flashpoint. Although it sounds like, I don't know if that's the case though. That may not be the case. But
well, let me ask you this: would you like to defeat him in a chapter?
I don't want to defeat him at all. I don't want, but
okay.
if I had to defeat him, yes, I would want him to be the final boss in a big operation. That's the only way I would be satisfied.
Yeah.
If I'm going to fight Jaina,
I don't think we have to defeat him though. We don't have to defeat him because
Yeah, I don't think we have
I
to
mean,
defeat him. I want him to persist, to live happily ever
Malgus as a
after.
companion, says Force Chuckle.
I want Malgus as a companion. I want
Malgus, go fetch that node for me.
go harvest that fungus. That would be so demeaning. All right, I will harvest this fungus for you. I I harvested the hell out of this fungus. Yeah.
But since you brought up operations, there is going to be a new operation.
Yeah. So what do you think of this? What is your thoughts on this?
Well, I feel like they must have already been putting quite a bit of work into it because they said it's going to be a complete operation at launch. That's the plan anyway.
The operation will be available at launch. So gather your friends and prepare for one of the galaxy's greatest challenges. So my two thoughts on this was, number one, I think this was the minimum bar that they needed to release. They needed an operation. In the expansion, they needed an operation at launch. The fact that they did it, check the box, that gives me the 2 thumbs up. That met my expectations that we needed this. Would I like 2 operations out of the expansion? Yes.
Yes.
Is there still room after launch to add another operation? Maybe. But the minimum, they had to have an operation. It had to be part of it. And because we got that September floated out there, okay, I'll take it. Second point on this. This seems to me to be outside the main body of the story in the same way that Ravagers sort of showed up as part of Shadow of Revan. So if you remember Shadow of Revan, we did get 2 operations in Shadow of Revan, but one of them was Ravagers, which was sort of it was within the theme of the expansion, but not part of the story. That was the part of the story. That was the story of the pirates and the pirates on the planet.
Yeah, it was his own story.
And Ruger and his, and Koratani taking over Ruger's ship and hijacking it.
With a parrot.
With her parrot, Pearl. It's on. Hey, Pearl, it's on. What does she say? Let's go, Pearl. It's on. And Ruger, whatever you do, don't die. So this seems to be sort of that in that same way within the theme of the expansion, but outside of the main story. This doesn't seem to be part of the main war. This seems to be Zerka Corporation.
Are you saying? Yeah, Zerka. Yeah, I like Zerka as an opponent. I mean, because I think they're a great little villain.
Yeah,
or big villain.
That sort of fits into the zeitgeist that corporations are bad. So.
Yeah, they're the embodiment of that.
Yeah, the corporation's gone bad. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're after the horrific beasts that are on this jungle moon of Andron called Dixun or something like that. So they're probably going to want to, genetically modify them into something they can sell.
Right. And they sort of alluded to this, and then they sort of alluded to it here in the text as well. If you've got some big nasty monster, who doesn't like a big nasty monster to fight and get Jagnath points for more than Trandoshans, right?
Yep.
So
so there's going to be some Trandoshans in the mix.
That makes a ton of sense.
Some vicious Trandoshans.
Vicious, fanatical, even. Yeah. So gather your friends. Available at launch, and I like the Zerka style as well, and the Zerka buildings. I like the 2 CZ-198 flashpoints. I'm happy to have a full operation in that theme as well. And then they started to talk about, okay, besides sort of that content, so there's what you would expect. We need story, we need a new planet, we need an operation, some flashpoint action going on. We checked all of those boxes. Oh, the chat room saying what better Trandoshan to bring back and have part of this whole story than
And
Kethis.
our beloved
They
Kefis.
brought Kethis back. That would be epic. But then they took it further, and they started to say, well, what else? What else can we expect? They said, fine, 5 more levels. You will get your 5 more levels added on. You're going to have to level up your character. And as you level up your character, you will get 1 new class-defining ability as part of those 5 levels. Okay, we would expect that. And we would have expected levels. This seems like to be part of an expansion. And then they took a left turn, didn't they? Then they said, our theme of how we're going to treat your evolution of your character as part of this expansion, and they highlighted it here, they said, is play your way. And as a result, they're adding a new item, they're changing itemization, they're changing the way set bonuses work, they're changing the way stats work, they're changing the way your rotation might work, and sort of blowing up that whole system and expanding it out in a bunch of different really interesting directions. So did you get the rundown of this, Seema? What were your thoughts on what you heard so far from this?
Well, I mean, I took it to mean that they were going to do something different from what we have now. But I didn't get a clear idea beyond that. And also, when they say play your way and you'll be able to get gearing through all kinds of play styles, that doesn't sound different. That is what we have now. So yeah.
Yes and no. Well, getting the gear, and they didn't really talk too much about that. So they didn't come out and explicitly say, they really sort of pushed that part off. You know, is there going to be command crates? Is that still going to be a way to get gear? Are we going to be just getting gear drops in operations? Or are we going to be getting... They really sort of pushed that behind the scenes. And I had a good side conversation. I felt a little bad that I didn't know exactly who he was when it started. I recognized the name. I knew I had seen him as part of the dev team in the past, Brett Hoffman. Brett Hoffman isn't just a dev, he's the lead designer. And I was like, again, I felt like such an idiot after the fact. In fact, I asked Eric Musco if I could either send him a message or email him after, because I felt like such a jerk. I was like, oh, really? You know, that sounds great. What have you designed? He's like, and I didn't see his badge, but he sort of like pointed to his badge, which said lead designer. I was sort of to the side. I couldn't read it. And I was just like trying to have a nice conversation with the guy. He's like, yeah, well, I'm like the lead designer. So like everything. He didn't say that, but he...
I mean, I don't want to belittle about the whole reworking the gear strategy. I think it's major. I just don't understand how it's going to be major. And I did get the feeling that they were sort of redesigning it from the ground up, that they weren't trying to load changes onto top to make it different, that they were going to redesign.
Right. So in talking with Brett Hoffman a little bit, he expanded a little bit, not of any about how you're going to acquire your gear, because you're right, that's all sort of the same. But the bigger, more interesting changes are two in particular that is going to make the gear much more interesting. One is the idea of set bonuses is going to expand quite a bit. So it's not going to be the way it is right now, where there's 1 set bonus for every advanced class and only one set of set bonuses for every advanced class like they have right now. They said for one, there's going to be multiple set bonuses that you can get. So it's different kinds of sets, including the idea of things like maybe a crafter set or a gatherer set. If that's your deal and you just want to be a master gatherer going out and picking up nodes and stuff and telling Malgus to pick up nodes for you, maybe you'll go out, you'll get a set for that. And then he also said, we're really looking hard at how we can make hybrid sets, taking a couple pieces or expanding what pieces have set bonuses on them potentially to create a set so that you can mix and match. and take bits of multiple sets and put them together.
And didn't they also mention something about making it easier to switch spec?
Um,
I remember Eric or somebody pointing out that today you can switch specs. It's a press of a button, but then you have to redo all your buttons.
I didn't hear that, but I mean, that would be great.
Yeah,
I,
that would be great.
and I think it only becomes more important in this idea of
Yeah.
multiple sets and multiple ways to play and multiple ways to use those sets. Yeah, that sounds like that would be really interesting. And then the other thing, which I think is it almost hopefully it'll complement, but it almost sort of conflicts with the idea of let's have lots of set bonuses and mixed match set bonuses, is the idea that they're adding a new gear slot for this tactical item. So I think this is really cool. I think they almost could have done this with set bonuses though, or they could just get rid of set bonuses and just use tactical items for this. It seems to me to a little bit that they sort of overlap in function, but the tactical item is going to be a new item, a piece of gear that you're going to slot. And when you slot it, it's going to be a big deal. So the sort of the way they described this was, imagine being able to, you're a Sork, you're a dot spec Sork, and you don't have a really good hard hitting burst ability. What if you could slot a tactical item that took one of your abilities and made it that big burst ability? Because that's how you would like to play your dot spec. You still want a big burst ability. Or on the flip side, maybe you're the kind of dot spec AoE Sork who would love to just double down on your AoE, make your AoEs bigger and make your dots spread more. And so you're going to slot a tactical item which tunes you in that direction. So multiple of these tactical items per advanced class, per spec, to be able to say, like, and they made this point multiple times, rotation changing tactical items. So your rotation will change if you slot this thing, and you're going to then redefine how your advanced class kind of works. Now it's not gonna take away half your abilities, but you may then get different cooldowns on one of your main abilities, which is going to change it in the rotation to how you use it, or an ability that wasn't very useful now becomes part of your rotation, or something like that. So build defining items, altering your abilities and play style. That sounds pretty cool to me. So what are your thoughts on the tactical ability?
I think it could make gearing up really interesting. I mean, right now, gearing is only for certain people, really, because if you're never doing anything but story mode, then you're just bolstered everywhere, basically.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So gear doesn't really matter. So I like the idea of having a set, especially for my Sorks and Sages, having special ability mirror the way I like to play. Like when I'm out doing dailies and stuff on my Sorks, I like to do a lot of AoE, and I can totally see, optimizing for that, or maybe optimizing for speed as you're running around the world.
Yeah. Now you're thinking.
And then, yeah. And like you were saying, optimizing for gathering or something, maybe there would be some way to speed up the time it takes for each, or get more out of it.
Yeah. That's a really good point, though, about the gearing, which is, yes, we're all going after 258 gear right now, but we don't, we're not Nightmare, we're not Master Mode Raiders. We don't really need the 258 gear. We're just doing it because it's a number, as opposed to this. I
mean, there's
like sets
we do have kind of a goal right now, which is we wouldn't mind being able to at least play around with veteran mode Queen and veteran mode Op. So 258 is probably overgeared for that, but that's good for us.
Yeah. I mean, it's a goal, and I mean, we're all still doing it. It's driving us. But if there was also, multiple sets to mix and match and multiple interesting side abilities. So I liken this to Elder Scrolls Online. Elder Scrolls Online has a plethora of sets, and you mix and match sets from different sets to put them together that do different things, and you're typically wearing almost 3 sets on every character build that you would do. Now there's still min-maxing and there's still theory crafters, and they'll still say if you want to do the hardest content in the game, this is the set the 2 sets that you get, and this is what your weapons are, and this is your stat, and this is how you min-max. So I expect there's still going to be that for this.
Yes.
Oh, you're doing ranked PvP. This is the only thing you're going to do. This is the tactical item you're going to slot. This is your gears. This is what you're going to do. However, everyone else that's not master mode, progression rating and not doing, ranked PvP is going to have a lot of potential flexibility. Like I have on ironically, my Sork in ESO. No, not on my Sork, on my dual wielder dagger roguish character. I forgot what it's called. Anyway, it's got a set, which isn't the best set, but it's not a bad set. And it's one of its set abilities is it procs an ability called Murder of Crows, and all these crows fly around me and attack all of my enemies. And I just love it because it's called Murder of Crows, and it's a cool set, and I like that theme, and I like that style to my character.
I like that too.
That's
Nightblade.
Yeah, it's my Nightblade. Yes, thank you, DP Roberts. It's my Nightblade. I love that. So if we can have that kind of that set that does something really interesting, or a tactical item that does something really interesting and is advanced class defining and tuning you in a cool way that you just want to be, almost like adding RP into the mix, and you're willing to not be to get that extra 0.01% of ranked PvP damage ability. That's going to be really fun. That's going to be fun to play with. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
So am I. So I think that's going to be quite cool. And I think this is going to be the biggest thing that they're going to need to do a lot of work on. Brett and everyone else and Keith, they all made the point that they're going to be doing a lot of this on the PTS. I think this is going to be a potential nightmare for them to balance. They're going to, with these sets and these tactical items and this new way of gearing and this mixing and matching and hybrid sets, and that's just going to be crazy. It's a good challenge for them. I think we are probably going to get into situations where something's going to launch and something's going to be added and something's going to be way overpowered, and something's going to be the flavor of the moment, and all the PvPers are going to be mad because Lightning Sorks with their burst ability are now way OP, but that happens. And and we'll work through it, and they'll balance things, and then the Lightning Sorks will get nerfed and everybody will be mad about that. But I don't know. I'm sort of looking forward to those days again of that kind of thing happening. It's been a long time since we had forum drama over who's getting nerfed and who's OP. So that's all part. I almost feel like that's part of MMOs. So
so also on top of all this, we're getting a new ability.
Yeah, right, with the level 75 ability. Oh, and hey, why is it not in the list? Because there's one more thing, or there's actually 2 more things, but one more thing that is it not listed in their blog post? I guess it's not. So before it gets too late here,
What thing?
Nautilons.
Yeah,
We're getting a new race. Did they list it?
Well, we haven't even touched on everything yet, but yeah, before we leave abilities though, I mean, have you thought about what you would like as an ability? Like what? Like I have, right? Because I've played every healing class, and like on my Merc, I'd like to be able to have a burst of speed, or a way to drop combat, or a stealth, something like that. I don't think they're going to do it, but
yeah,
that would make the ideal class, like extricate, or one per class. ability between, your 75. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like those are the things I miss from my Sage Sork and my
That's a
Age
good question.
Bound.
I'll think about that one, Seema. Thank you for putting that question out there. I think we all should think real hard about that, and maybe we should make that a little side segment on next week's show. As you think about your class, to pick your main, what would you want your new ability to be? That's a really good question, and I don't have a good
So
answer off the
yes,
top of my head.
not an unplayable species. Also, I didn't really expect this, but it makes sense. This expansion is free to subscribers.
Right. The whole expansion is free to subscribers, which means you also get Nautilons as free to subscribers, which means you also
Yeah.
get all of the content and the operation, and it's all free to subscribers. And if you're not a subscriber, and Keith even sort of made this point, he gave you the life hack: subscribe once, one time, 1 month, and you get all of this expansion and every other possible previous expansion. Then you just get it.
Yeah.
Why would you not do that? So 15 bucks, I guess. So if you're not a subscriber, if you've never been a subscriber, then it's going to cost you 15 bucks. That's it.
Pretty good deal.
So yeah. So then, yeah, then Nautilons, which I'll have to find the artwork for Nautilons, because they did show it off, and I was hoping they were going to put it in here, and they didn't. But Nautilons will have some customization associated with them. They only showed color customization so far, but Nautilons is a playable race. There were very few Nautilons as cosplay at Star Wars Celebration, so that's something they'll have to work on. Tons of
Because
Twi'leks.
they have more luck than any of.
Well, and they
You'd
have
have to
like the
make
big
more.
eyes. I think you'd have to really wear a mask. Whereas like Twi'leks and what's the other one with the head tentacles? Come on.
Oh my gosh! If you hadn't asked me, I would
I
know.
know. The mind just blanks out.
Tortolan.
Tortolan. No.
Or
Tortu-
turtles.
I think it's tortellins.
I
It's
like
close.
turtles.
It's now I don't know what it is because it's Togruta.
Togruta.
Togruta. Arjar said it too. Togruta.
Okay. So we
Togruta.
lost our.
A lot of Togruta. A lot
Sulfur
of
geek card there.
lot of Twi'lek. So anything else? Anything else? We went late, but it's sort of worth it. This was a big deal. Anything else about Onslaught that you want to mention before we get close to wrapping up here?
Just that I got a feeling that they had a plan, that they had worked it out. I mean, I don't know if this is just me imagining all this, but it felt organized. It felt like they had the resources to do what they say they're going to do. I felt good about it.
Yes, you're right. And I think it gave everybody a really good feeling, and I think it gave the haters, some positive thoughts on the game. I saw, and I just read a little bit. I didn't go too much into the forums or into Reddit, but sort of like a couple sort of side comments like, I thought this game was dead. It's obviously not. So that's I think you got to come to that conclusion. If this is here and it's an expansion and they made this impact at Star Wars Celebration and a bunch of the dev team was there and they're putting this stuff out and they're launching in September and this is a thing. Star Wars The Old Republic is a thing. So there you go. All right. So to wrap it up for our little for this week, and as I said, we'll come back to a couple of these things next week. I did want to make the point that my final part of Star Wars Celebration was my conclusion that Star Wars Celebration will never ever come back to Chicago because the last day of Star Wars Celebration, no, the second to last day of Star Wars Celebration looked like this. Today which now we are one day after. So this was 2 days ago.
In April.
This was 2 days ago.
Chicago should be embarrassed.
It was 70 and sunny today. This is what it looked like on Sunday when a lot of people were wrapping up. And this is when the planners are thinking about what they're going to do in the future for Star Wars Celebration. 4 inches of snow. This is what my house
4
looked like when I
inches.
got home. And it was still snowing. This is serious business, Chicago. I think my tweet was something along the lines of, do you want Star Wars Celebration to never come back to Chicago? Because this is how you get Star Wars Celebration to never come back to Chicago. Hashtag it's the Chicago way. So,
Did you just say hashtag?
I said it out loud. That was in my tweet, but yes. Hashtag it's the Chicago way. Yeah, so great job, Chicago. The Chicago weather. That's how you'll never have events coming here ever again. So, all right, we have gone quite late, but it's totally worth it, and we'll do more next week on Star Wars Celebration, and we'll show off some more pictures and talk about some of the secrets and talk about Episode 9 and everything we think that's coming with that. But right now, we are done, and Episode 288 is in the can, and EPC 288 is ready to get kicked out on airlock and broadcast this podcast to all of you. So please keep up with us on Twitter at MaxTheGray and at AIESEMA so you can be ready for our next week's podcast. Make sure if you are on Starforge, or even if you're not, roll a character, come join our guild. That's why we are doing this. We would love to have you there. We are Alea Iacta Est. You can find us at aie-guild.org. You can find us on Starforge. You can find our Discord details at aie-guild.org. You can come jump in Discord and say, hey Max, hey Seema, hey Zen, hey Marcus, hey BC, hey Corley, hey Apollos, hey Sten. Give me an invite. I'm sure hey Jana, give me an invite. And we will do that. We will invite you. You can come be in our mega event on Friday. You can be in our Tuesday events. You can join one of our ops teams, because we would love to have you, and we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.